Right now with Greg Gillis, the master behind Girl Talk,
Hello.
and also Kembrew McLeod. Hi. We're going to do a little in-studio interview. Girl Talk's playing tonight with Talib Kweli. Please tell me I'm pronouncing Talib Kweli's name right. I can never.
I think it's pretty close.
Okay.
I don't know how it officially goes now.
Okay. And that's at 8 p.m. in the IMU main lounge. Students' tickets are $26.50, and to the public it's $31.50, and I believe tickets are still available, so if you want to catch that show. But how are you doing?
Good. I just slept 12 hours. I feel very alive today.
That's good. Yeah, you said you had the day off yesterday?
Yeah, we did 4 shows in Jersey and New York over the past few days. Then we just flew in to Iowa yesterday and kind of just watched the Cavs game. We went to BW3s, and that was nice.
Cool.
And we just chilled out today.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it should be pretty high energy tonight then?
Yeah, I feel like most shows I feel I'm hungover or my feet are bleeding or something. So I actually feel about as good as I felt going into a show today as I have this entire year.
Cool. Well, how does it feel? I mean, as a lover of music that you are, how does it feel to be playing with kind of a hip hop icon like Talib Kweli tonight?
It's crazy. This time of year, a lot of schools have their spring concerts. So we've been doing the rounds with a lot of artists who are kind of legendary. And we played at Common last week and did a show with Big Boy from Outkast. So it's cool. I love doing the hip hop show. I feel like I like playing shows with people who are kind of different but bring a certain sort of energy. So I don't like playing with anyone who's going to be doing remixes on a laptop, just because it's how much of that can you take during a show. So yeah, it's cool. I feel like it goes really well with hip hop stuff. So yeah, it's definitely cool to take the stage with someone who is at a legendary sort of status.
Yeah, cool. Well, would you talk a little bit about how you got into mashup music? When I talked to you on the phone, you said that you got involved in Pittsburgh's kind of underground hip-hop scene, or not hip-hop scene, excuse me, just music scene. I was just wondering, where did that go?
Yeah, it was just I got into it when I was 14 through college radio, through the Carnegie Mellon station in Pittsburgh. So I just found out about that. And back then, it was harder to find music on the internet, which is the main difference. So it was discovering WRCT, the Carnegie Mellon station, was this crazy thing to me, just because there was all this music I'd never heard of, and I was very excited. And at that point, I was into Nirvana and Public Enemy and stuff like that. But I was I liked those bands because they seemed progressive, but you knew there was something was influencing them. It came from some of their stuff that had to be weirder than that. So I was kind of interested in that. So I kind of discovered that station and just heard really abstract electronic music for the first time. I heard people doing stuff like Negative Land for the first time, where it was collages or taking pop culture stuff and remixing it, and it was just kind of mind-blowing. So I grew up with the mindset of just seeing these shows where it was just anyone can do anything as a performance. I can get up there and smash a TV, and that can be my band. And that's what my high school band basically was. We just smashed TVs.
So what was the name of that band?
It was called the Joysticks Battle the Scan Feed Relay to Your Skull. And we would do these shows where it would last anywhere from 15 seconds to 20 minutes, and it was just very performance art based. We played a show for a high school talent show where we played 2 noise loops that were almost in sync but slowly grew out of sync for 10 straight minutes until they cut the sound and stopped the entire talent show and just shut it down. So that was kind of our thing. So I felt that was getting baby steps into doing something like Girl Talk, which is obviously now a lot more accessible. But I think just getting into that style of performance or music, really with the early Girl Talk stuff is I can start a band where all it is sampling music, and it doesn't have to necessarily be framed as a DJ performance or anything like that. It could be it's new music based out of other people's music. So that's kind of where it got going. And even back then, I never heard of the word mashup, even though it probably existed. But I definitely heard of Public Enemy or people doing tons of sample-based stuff, or John Oswald. So I was familiar with that stuff, but not necessarily what they called mashups, which probably existed in Europe at that time without me actually knowing about it. And then it's just been 10 years, and just slowly evolved over the years to kind of be what it is now.
Well, you're very. I've noticed that you're very. I'm not a DJ. Those T-shirts that say "I'm not a DJ," and I was just wondering if you would talk, because so many people classify you as a DJ.
Right. Yeah, I'm not offended by that. The shirts that it felt like they send out mixed things. It was like almost like we're mad about this thing. It was almost like the show was supposed to be comical just because it was. I had done Girl Talk for 6 years and toured around, had all these shows, and I never played in a dance club. It was always like playing with a hip hop group, playing with a rock band, playing somewhere where this was, again, like I was saying, it's a performance based around sampling music, but it's all supposed to be new.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point on the records too. This is all going to be samples, but the whole point is that it's supposed to be something new. So around the time when my album Night Ripper came out, it's like when it started to kind of grow nationally. A lot of people wanted to book shows, and then all of a sudden people hit me up and just being like, "Can you come DJ my club? I'll pay you $100 an hour." And it's like, what? I've never played over 15 minutes of my life. Like, what is this? And it was so much like that. And that was right when I started working with a booking agent for the first time. And I was just like, I just want to put my foot down and kind of stick to what I've been doing. And just really not sit in a DJ booth, always kind of get on stage and try to make a performance out of it. So that's kind of where the t-shirt came from, just kind of based on that. And, again, the culture that it came out of was so specific, that Negative Land, John Oswald, Kid 606 sort of culture, which not many people follow, and I don't blame them. So it's like, when people refer to it as a DJ-style performance, I get that. That might be the closest thing they relate to, which is fine, but I don't expect them to know the exact people that made me get into this or anything like that. I wouldn't expect that of anyone. So, it's not a big deal to me. But it is still funny when it's like, DJ Girl Talk. Are you that DJ from Girl Talk?
Well, would you talk? I've heard you referred to your music as a big living collage, and I was just wondering if you would talk about that and talk about maybe your process of sampling and mashing up.
Yeah, it's kind of really all based around, the live performance, which it has been for as long as I've been doing it. And I use the same software I've always used. It's kind of this loop-based software. So, you have a template, and it's these loops and samples in front of you, and then slowly you start to build on it or add something, subtract it. So basically, like where I'm playing now, what I'm doing is just, to me, an evolution of, what the templates that were set 8 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever. So kind of like I'll play a show tonight and I'll have the material in front of me and everything will be as isolated as possible. So every kick drum, every hand clap, every acapella, every instrumental, all those little things, and I cue them by hand live. But it's something that I rehearsed and I go over, and it's I have an ideal way that it's supposed to go. But there's naturally a certain level of improvisation that falls into every single performance. And then, after tonight and tomorrow, I'll have a day off and I might sit in a hotel and be like, oh, that one part, I'm not really feeling that, or this part's getting a little boring to me, or I love this new Lady Gaga song I want to cut up, or whatever, So it's like, I'll just do little bits of addition and subtraction, change it up just little bits. So it's like the show I'm doing now is the same exact template as was 2 years ago, just everything just slowly changes. And certain things, like if you were to study it every day kind of the way I do, it's like certain hand clap sounds have just been there for like 5 years. At that moment, I've never taken that out or something. So yeah, it's just kind of, it never ends. And then even when I put some down on an album, kind of always exploring new ideas with it. And then it's like even 2 years, 4 years now after like Night Ripper, a lot of that material I might be like, oh, this music is so well with that. So I'm kind of always revisiting that. So it's remixing the remix and like to kind of have that be part of the show. So nothing ever is finished with me. There's no like finalized version. It just kind of is a living thing that just continues to exist.
So then when you record an album, you kind of take maybe what you have been creating over on the road, and then you just kind of put that to the disc, or what?
Yeah, it's just a much more detailed. I think if you really want to piece it apart when you see me live, there'll be certain things like really small drum fills that just won't exist because like I can't click that fast, So I think when I even have an idea of from the last album, like Whoop, there it is with Big Country, like that sort of thing with drums from Daft Punk and Kraftwerk. But like I had been playing that live for a while, but then to sit down and edit that on record still might take me 8 hours to like finalize it. Even though I can do a take in 1 minute straight and do it live, just kind of getting the right mix and getting right transitions and kind of EQing things and keeping it lively. It's just a very detailed take on the ideas that are set. So it's kind of the live show is a different beast, but it's almost like a lot of demos being played with. And then, when I sit down to do an album, it's like finalizing that material.
Yeah. When you talked a little bit about this before, but when you're making an album, I was wondering if you had a greater motive than just making like like a fun dance album? Like,
Right.
is there, like, do you feel like you're making a statement when you make an album, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, part of the music I really love is music that can make statements without wearing it on its sleeve so hard. So, I like that you can listen to Nirvana and it can just be a pop song. Like, those are just pop songs. But it's kind of like, if you dive more into music aspect of it, it's like, oh, this is kind of like, Gang of Four mixed with Bay City Rollers mixed with this, that, or lyrically it's like this. So it's kind of like, with the music, I want it to be accessible, and I want my parents to be able to just jam to it, and I want, like kids at colleges just be, anyone just to be able to just get into it. But at the same time, I think, there's a lot implied just with my general, like, musical theory or approach, just the way I approach music and culture. I think, I think a lot of times people like to differentiate, or I think a lot of times people judge music and it's like, oh, that's good or that's bad, and this music's bad and that's good, and it's kind of silly to me, because it's like, I think every music has its own intentions, and you just have to kind of appreciate and respect it from that perspective. So, when I sample Kelly Clarkson's Sonic Youth on the same track, I think they're going for different things, but they're doing what they do well. So that's kind of the general idea behind it. And then even like, if there's two live crew and it might be really vulgar lyrics about having sex, and that might be next to Paul McCartney, which might be really like sugar-coated, like G-rated lyrics about like loving women. I think they're both silly on their own level, but that's awesome. They're just entertainment. So I kind of want to just break down that barrier and just, everyone's just inventing these characters. And I think in music, it's like, you want to present a certain aspect of yourself, but it's like you don't put your entire being out there. It's like you choose a specific aspect of yourself to push this character, and I think you just have to respect that and kind of get into it. So I just like to appreciate music and get down with music.